Oh, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and today we've got some, I guess, bad news for people who are really into corporate synergy. Dario Scardapane, the great showrunner on Daredevil Born Again, who's about to drop season 2, gave an interview with SFXMagazine where he talked about Marvel crossovers and whether or not they're likely to happen. And they're a lot less likely to happen than we would have seen a few years ago. So we're going to go through the history of Marvel TV movie crossovers, what worked, what didn't work, why they are really hard to do logistically. And we're going to talk about Daredevil Born Again and what we know about that. And as far as I would presume, no movie characters will appear in that show, but it is very possible, I think even likely, that Daredevil will appear in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, in just a second, I'm going to have a couple of my good friends, Tommy Bechtold and Colton Ogburn, come on and join me. But first, let's just take a quick look at Scardapane's comments here before we talk about Disney Plus and what and the successes like WandaVision and the failures like Secret Invasion. All right, let's look. This quote says, in an interview, they asked him about crossovers with movie characters. He said, "I'd be into it because I dig the comics, but no, that's been kind of a fun and challenging thing. We know there's a huge world out there of the MCU. This corner of it has crossovers. We've seen Daredevil and other shows," which of course referring to like Netflix and the Netflix shows, and She-Hulk. "The joke we make is, oh, those guys are uptown, we're downtown. We kind of have a pocket that's in this world of Hell's Kitchen, in this world of New York. I always think that maybe these characters take little vacations into the larger world, but the story we're focusing on is really granular." Now, that's not a bad thing. If you ask me, that's the kind of thing where when you hear that, you go, good, that is a storyteller who is focused on telling stories for the story that's in front of them. And they're not worried about crossing over with a million other things, which, probably was the detriment of projects like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, like we'll talk about in just a second. So just to give you guys the rundown, we're going to go through the history of Marvel TV. We're going to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Netflix shows, and some of the highlights and some of the lows of Disney and hopefully of Disney Plus. And hopefully by the end of this, you guys have an understanding of why a Marvel TV show works and how it can cross over, and then why sometimes a forced crossover makes it fail. But to help me do this, I'm going to bring on a couple friends of mine. We've got the guy who's always on break, Tommy Bechtold, coming to us from another break location. How you doing, man?
Hey, everybody. I'm on break at my mom's house, and I want to apologize to the viewers for my suboptimal setup here, my sound and lighting package. This is what we call the New Jersey glamour shot. It's when you travel and don't get back from the airport in time to get back to work in your studio. So happy to be here.
Tommy, you already, I think you played a bit on Kimmel like this. You already like connected with a lot of us because you're the guy in his mom's basement, and now it's just literally real.
Yeah, now I'm in my mom's kitchen, but I'm near my dog who I haven't seen in 5 days, and that is making me very happy.
What's your dog's name?
Max. I'll give you a glamour shot of him too. I think he's over there. Can you see his butt?
Yeah. Hi, Max.
Max.
Maybe Doug and him can meet sometime.
Yes, they should. They should hang out.
Well,
Max
and of
loves
course,
New Jersey. Sorry.
That's all right. And of course, we have another guy here who's trapped in his own little sub-pocket dimension. We've got the guy who's trapped in our TV but doesn't know it. So please don't tell him. My co-host Colton Ogburn. How you doing, Colton?
I'm good. Look.
Aw,
there you go.
Is that your dog?
There we go. Wait.
Dog.
Yeah. Who needs a pet when you can have this?
Is that what are we looking at there? Is that from Netflix era?
No, it's from Born Again.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks great. Yeah, I guess the Netflix
cool.
era wouldn't have focused as much on the grappling hook. That looks awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, guys, I don't know. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot of Marvel stuff. A lot of things I want to bring up for discussion. You guys heard what we said about Scardapane and TV movie crossovers. What do you think? It looks like Spider-Man's not going to show up in this season of Daredevil Born Again. Do you think it takes us out of this universe if we're watching Mayor Fisk and we're going, yeah, but where's the Thunderbolts? What are your thoughts?
Go ahead, Tommy.
Okay. My thought is always just that, like, the vibe that I get when they're like, why aren't these people here? Is like, it hasn't become important enough yet. It's like they'll come when there's no other alternative, they'll show up. So like, yes, what Fisk is doing is scary to the viewer, but to the actual people of New York, there's some sort of there's a there's a desire for that change, right? Like he's doing a good job of creating fear propaganda of like, we have to keep these vigilantes off the streets. So why would the Thunderbolts interfere? You know?
And maybe the Thunderbolts aren't on the streets. I mean, we saw in the post-credit scene, they're having a rough time finding crime anyways, but maybe the threats they're dealing with are overseas. And plus, they are sanctioned by a government body. So that could be the difference there.
I mean, I've always subscribed that they're just people in the streets and then freaks in the sheets. So that would make a lot of sense that they're just laying low right now.
Yeah, that's I couldn't agree more.
Well, and Tony,
doesn't that sound like I wasn't paying attention?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, because I just couldn't think of what to say. Yep, couldn't agree more. Now over to Bob for the weather. Bob, are you a freak in the sheet?
Colton.
Sorry, Colton, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you know, Tony put it perfectly in Homecoming, that where he says it's below their pay grade. I think that was a great little line that kind of can explain that away in universe. I don't know. I'm of two minds of it because, yeah, it makes sense both from a story perspective and, you know, just a practicality perspective that, yes, if there's something major going down in New York, why wouldn't the new Avengers roll in? I mean, they're literally based there.
So why didn't they roll in the comics either? It was just the street level people who helped out Daredevil. So there's that question too.
So they need to like, I hope that they are mindful of that fact and craft their stories in a certain way where it wouldn't make sense for the new Avengers to necessarily get involved. It needs to be like this, you know, underground type story where it's Matt Murdock, Daredevil, and these like more underground, you know, street level, like quite literally street level type heroes who are kind of in the midst of something that is not on the Avengers radar, maybe not even really on the US government's radar. You know, it's like this underground, like infighting type of thing, this war that's kind of being kept out of the public's view. So I think in story, that's what they need to do to make that happen. As far as like Spider-Man goes, I'm wondering if it's like a Sony thing, why Spider-Man can't
it totally
be there.
is. 100%. Yeah. If Marvel owned him outright, I think they'd be like, Tom, go film an episode of this or be in the finale. Yeah, be in the 100%. Finale. There you go. Like, all the people showing up in the last episode of Book of Boba Fett.
But when they don't put the new Avengers in there or like one of their big movie people in a show, then you start to wonder, okay, well, what's the reason there? Because they can. So why aren't they? Well, it's probably because, I mean, it's just really not that practical to go get your big cast of Avengers from a movie and be like, hey, can you come be in the season finale of Daredevil? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, the Thunderbolts, I think our friend Heather Antos had this theory that the Thunderbolts lineup was greatly dependent on who had time on their contracts left. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say also the problem with a cameo of like that magnitude is that it instantly becomes Daredevil and the Thunderbolts. Like, like you have to make sure that they're
just cool for an issue.
Yes, it's cool for like a scene in an episode, like where you want Daredevil to remain about Daredevil, and I realize that's like stating the obvious, but depending on who you bring in from the movies, like if you were to bring in, I mean, take this back 10 years, if you were to bring Captain America into any Disney Plus show, if those existed, then that show would cease to be about that person, and it would be about Captain America.
Yeah, now along those same lines, I want to kind of walk you guys through this history of Marvel TV and the crossovers and when they worked and when they didn't. But most importantly, what I want to take away from this are the limitations of these crossovers, because I do have an idea of how this could work. There are ways to take shows like Daredevil Born Again and seamlessly incorporate them into the movies, but I'll get to that in just a second. So first of all, let's talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? There's certain things about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that did cross over really well. There was a moment in the final 4 or 5 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1 when I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Because if you're following the show all season, Hydra was not allowed to be in it, which hamstrung the writers and creators. But then about 4 episodes left to go, there was this big cliffhanger mystery, and you had to go watch The Winter Soldier to find out what it was. And then in the next episode, Hydra was revealed. It was incredible. I was on the edge of my seat. But then Marvel TV and Marvel Studios talked to each other less and less. So then those crossovers became things like, Maria Hill would appear on the show, Powers Booth would appear on the show, Lady Sif appeared on the show. I think we have a graphic. There it is. And then we had other mentions like Daisy Ridley lived in the same orphanage as Matt Murdock. Crusher Creel was a boxer who fought Matt's dad. Hell, there were even like name drops of Banner and Stark, and Samuel L. Jackson was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So they did the best they could. In fact, with Joss Whedon working on the show, I think that helped. But there were other things, like when they showed the Darkhold, it was completely different. And most importantly, Mockingbird was the main character in the show. So she was written off for a spinoff they never made. But then they said that Clint's wife was Laura was Mockingbird the whole time. The problem they ran into is everything that Marvel would do was kind of tying up the creatives on that show. They had to sit and tread water waiting for the Hydra reveal. The show's called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., then S.H.I.E.L.D. was destroyed. So they spent the rest of their time kind of correcting that. And then if you watch the show, I was super excited, like, oh, Civil War, who are they going to side with? It's barely mentioned. They just always ran in the opposite direction, and now it's probably not canon. So that's one way. There's other shows like Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, which kind of did the Netflix thing, where they just appeared in their own pocket universe. They crossed over with each other and fought Morgan Le Fay. And then, of course, we also had the Netflix shows. Now, the Netflix shows were designed to cross over. They were supposed to always lead into a crossover film. So what you're seeing here is when they keep it smaller, it goes a lot better, right? When you do say, and the comics kind of work the same way. I mean, Daredevil doesn't go to space that often. You know?
True.
It's just different now, though. Like what they did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I guarantee you that there was no one watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that wasn't going to see the Marvel movies, right? That
Oh,
if you're a watcher of, but it wasn't the other way around. There are plenty of people going to see the movies that weren't tuning in for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, with it not being broadcast television anymore and it being streaming, and it just being kind of this whole different, it's just consumed differently. The fan base is different. The way you follow it is different. They really do kind of have to be separate things, because you especially can't have movies reliant on you've seen a show. And it's kind of getting to the point where you don't need to have your shows reliant on you having gone to see a movie, because people just be like, I've got so many hours that I can invest in watching a show because I'm working 2 jobs and I have kids and, I have life. So I'm not going to watch this show because I haven't had a chance to go see this movie. I think it is probably best from a business perspective to divide this a little bit.
Well,
it should feel fun and not like homework whenever they cross over. Sorry, Tommy, go for it.
No, I think your point was just proven with Wonder Man, basically. I mean, there are certainly elements in Wonder Man that if you know the other pre-existing material is more enriching, but that show is enjoyable on its own.
I mean, Iron Man 3, but that movie made, I think, $1 billion or close to $1 billion. We assumed everybody's familiar with it. If you hadn't seen Shang-Chi,
knowing damage control and knowing like what damage control is obviously.
Yeah, but you get it. You're right. It's a government place. And that's when it should work. It's kind of like the comics used to always have this rule that every issue should stand on its own. Definitely not that way anymore. But then, so when a character came in, they would get like a short explanation, usually from Stan, being like, "And this guy was," like a big block of text. And I think that's kind of what they need to do, is take a step back. I think in the heyday of the Infinity Saga, like Phase 3, they really built towards something, and some of that enthusiasm did carry over into the streaming era in ways that were promising but didn't pan out, which I'll talk about in just a second. First, I want to thank Lord Vader for your $10 super chat. Of course, we don't encourage super chats, but we don't ask for super chats, but we do encourage them. Sorry,
like the Lord Vader.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. This isn't the Lord Vader. This is Lord Vader 330.
Okay.
329 before them. And Jordan Freeman gave us $2. So what happened to ScreenCrush Crossover Universe? It'll be back. We'll get some guests. We'll do it for you. We're doing other stuff. We're circling around.
I mean, we're having a crossover episode now. I used to work in it.
Always. Yeah, there you go. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. All right. So here's what you have to understand, though, when we talk about this. Like in the comics, it's super easy. You could draw Daredevil in any comic book that you want. Marvel and DC and these editorial companies, the conceit of having a universe where Superman is in the same universe as Batman was incredibly novel when it happened. Comic strip characters, unless they were like drawn by the same guy like Mort Walker, never really crossed over, right? It was a totally new idea. So editors had to keep this straight. Like this person is in here this month and they're in that book this month. And that also limited what they would do with characters, because the logic was, how could Wolverine be in the Avengers? He's busy having adventures with the X-Men. And so this evolved over the years into giant crossover events where they had to, every summer, they still do it, build a big event that would cross over. And then all the books had to kind of stop their storylines or tie their storylines into this. Logistically, though, on a TV show, like a broadcast TV show like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they turn an episode around much faster than a movie. So the idea that a movie could base anything on a TV series could never work at all, because the TV series is going to go in a different direction. The other way to do that, though, is kind of what they did in season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is tell the TV series at the end of this, Hydra is going to be revealed, which is kind of what Marvel does with the movies. Thor Ragnarok, they knew the ending, they knew the beginning, and what happened in between, you know, as long as they were on that ship and Thanos was there, that's all they had to build up to. So it's really difficult, though, to handle this logistically and to not hamstring the TV creators. And when you do that, I think you end up with some bad TV shows. This is probably part of what hurt Secret Invasion.
I kind of, this might be the unpopular opinion. I kind of wish they would just stop crossing them over altogether, because as we've seen with the multiverse saga, the sheer amount of stuff they put out, I think, has really hurt. Like, even the amount of movies, like, forget the shows. They put out too many movies. I think that Marvel might be in a better position, not only like perception wise, but also financially, if they started putting out just like 1 or 2 movies a year that have an invested audience and like are guaranteed to make $1 billion a piece, instead of putting out like 4 $300 million people.
Well, but for a while, those $400 million movie, I mean, they set this shit into motion 5 years ahead of time. And when they started setting these into motion, their movies had been making 600 to 1 million or 1 billion, $1 million. I think that that's kind of where they're at now. I think that they canceled a lot of things that weren't surefire bets that were really expensive, like Eternals 2, and they're more doubling down on, you know, established characters and stuff like that.
And
however,
shows.
Yeah,
the show cross the shows over. Yeah.
And within their own pockets, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, right? So let's look at the first big opportunity they had to cross over the TV shows and the movies. WandaVision started off this new era of Marvel TV. No offense to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but WandaVision was a different thing. It was higher production values. It featured movie characters. It was short. It hooked you. We were all inside with nothing to do. So the big question was, oh my God, look at Wanda's journey. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness comes out, and Elizabeth Olsen has famously said that they hadn't seen the show. They weren't able to see it. Marvel siloed them in a different place. It was still being edited. And what you got was something that was not even a remote pickup from what happened with that character before. I'd say that's a pretty big failure. And another one, for a different reason, would be Ms. Marvel appearing in the Marvels. But the reason that didn't work is because not enough people saw Ms. Marvel. And there was such a big chunk of time. I think it was more than a year between the release of those two things, when it should have just been like, it's Disney Plus. Put out Ms. Marvel, and then the next month, put out the Marvels, you know? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Where logistically do you think, what do you think went wrong with those two?
Well, I mean, specifically with Multiverse of Madness, I feel like that movie it switched creative teams kind of late in the game again. It was another one of those movies, right, that had like Scott Derrickson for a long time and then suddenly became Sam Raimi. And it just feels like Disney, specifically in the last decade, starting with Solo and kind of Multiverse of Madness, has a track record of like, when things go down due to creative differences, the movie always ends up kind of being a little bit of a mess. Like, whether it's just because you go from, you know, Lord and Miller to Ron Howard or Scott Derrickson to Sam Raimi, it's like, those are just such different creative teams. And again, if you haven't watched Wanda, I mean, like the ability to pull from WandaVision would seem like this unbelievable opportunity. And to keep, I mean, it's just a complete like lapse in judgment. Like, it's a complete misfire of like, you made this show that is a comic book adaptation that ended up getting nominated for tons and tons of acting and directing and all sorts of, you know, awards in the television industry for like, you know, art, rather than it crossed over in a way into like prestige TV in a way that comic book shows don't normally do. And I think like, not having them be experts in WandaVision, like the creative.
I mean, the problem you ran into there, though, is for one thing, like you said, they did switch. Like Bo DeMaio, who, by the way, is a great follow if you want to just get all the Marvel tea. He does not give a shit. He tells all the secrets, right? He was saying the original draft of that was very different. Wanda became a villain at the end. Nightmare was the villain. It was something, and I think Scott Derrickson, based on his tweets around that time, just buckled under pressure. Right. He was like including too much stuff and from these other universes and now America Chavez. And I just think that it lost, like it stopped becoming a movie that a filmmaker made. It became a movie that a studio made. Raimi, though, was still able to put his own filmmaking style into it. But you got to remember, so while Elizabeth Olsen's filming WandaVision, they're already writing and in pre-pro and behind on drafts for Multiverse of Madness. I know you guys know this, but I'm explaining to everybody else. So literally, like Elizabeth Olsen would have jumped from filming into a movie that already had to have previs, and they had already prevised out all the shit of her being evil at the beginning of it. So that's kind of like a really big lapse that they changed the plan of Multiverse of Madness. I think that's really where the problem was.
Yeah, and as my mom would say, they did it bass-ackwards. They
did it bass-ackwards, right?
With the Marvels as well, having shows that set up movies. They're thinking bass-ackwards about it. They're thinking, oh, well, the show is the smaller thing that will build into the big movie, but not everybody's gonna watch the show. If you're gonna do it, do the show that spins off from the movie. They're doing it bass-ackwards.
Right. You ever
want
watch
me to say bass-ackwards again? Yeah.
No, I like bass-ackwards. Yeah, I was thinking about the Marvels the other day. This is a little off topic, and I was thinking, like, if I was going to explain that movie to somebody, and I'd be like, okay, so first thing you have to know is after Captain Marvel, Carol went into space and she destroyed a civilization. Like, oh my god, that's the movie. That sounds great. Oh no, that's not the movie. The movie is 40 years later, and see, there's these other people. And then the sad lady, like they really took a great concept for a movie and didn't make the movie. It's crazy.
And the star of the movie, she's only 1/3 of the star. There's these other two characters that are from.
Oh, so they must be big movie stars that we've seen before, right? Like they're big famous people. No, no. They're not.
No.
What are they? Oh no, okay. They're just in TV shows. Okay, got it.
They're in TV. Not even TV shows. They're behind a paywall on a stream. Do you know what streamers are? It's like an app on your TV.
Exactly. Yeah. Now that's a couple examples of when it didn't go well. Has it worked? I kind of feel like the Thunderbolts worked as a story, except not enough people had seen it. I'll throw out an example of when I think it worked to a certain extent. Captain America: Brave New World. Say. It worked for Sam's story. Now, obviously, you start to bring in the Hulk and Isaiah. That Isaiah was a little bit too much, but you could go from Endgame, skip Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and go straight to Brave New World. And you're like, yeah, Sam kept the shield. Right. It's almost like there was a limited series that you could read if you wanted to, like Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. There was like literally 2 issues of the Uncanny X-Men, where in one issue they leave for Japan. The next issue they come back and Kitty has a haircut and a new name. And if you want, you can buy those 6 issues and find out what it was about. But if you don't want to, then you just go on with it.
I agree. Yes, you can watch Brave New World without having seen Falcon and Winter Soldier. And you'll get me started here, but it's extremely stupid that they didn't just make the story of Falcon and the Winter Soldier the Captain America movie with Sam Wilson.
I know.
And Bucky co-starring.
There was a lot of great. I was thinking about Winter Soldier last night too. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That movie. That speech Isaiah gave, they'll never let a black man hold the show. Like that show has a lot of great stuff in it. But I think you're right. I think you could have taken however many hours that was, condensed it to 2. Instead, they made it a streaming show, not as good as Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I think we all agree definitely needed to stay a TV series instead of being a movie. I mean, that was Colton can't even make that joke. We got a couple of super chats here, guys. I want to just address real quick before we get to Secret Invasion and some of the other things that have gone wrong, before we talk about my theory on what they can do to make all of this right. We've got Didier Unification. Gave us 12 euros. Thanks so much. Finally catching up with the show live. Hi from Paris, France. No more crossover. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. What about the Midnight Suns? Love you guys. Well, we should clarify. They're still going to do crossover movies. What we're saying is, according to comments by Dario Scardapane, they're not going to do many movie characters appearing in TV shows, which is what we're talking about now, is the history and logistics of that. Peace Nick gave us $5. I would hate to see the light crossovers end. Me too. Disney Plus shows shouldn't just be addendums to the movies, but the old wall between TV and movies is also, but the old paywall between TV and movies is also problematic. I think that's what that means.
Yeah.
I don't think we should just have them as supplemental material, but I think there's TV characters and there's movie characters.
They're two
But Daredevil should appear in Spider-Man.
Yes. In the sense of the same way that any other like vigilante character might appear in Spider-Man as like a supporting character. And if you know Daredevil and have seen Daredevil, that's great. But if you haven't, it also would work.
Does it kind of make more sense that like a smaller character can appear in a bigger character's movie? And that will probably most always be successful. But trying to shoehorn bigger characters into smaller characters' TV shows is always going to like has the potential to like distract from what the point of the TV show is or overshadow it. So there seems to almost be like an equation about it. Like you could put Daredevil in Spider-Man, you could put Daredevil in Secret Wars, but like you can't put Dr. Doom in Daredevil.
No, definitely not Dr. Doom and Daredevil. I think there's certain things you can do though. I don't know. I'll give you an example. Like in the comic books, it was a big deal in the Ms. Marvel comics when she finally met Carol Danvers. Mm-hmm. And I do think there's a universe where season 1 of Ms. Marvel could have ended with Carol Danvers making a cameo.
Yes,
and it wouldn't have been the point of it. Yeah, because it would have been the end of her journey. Yeah, well, kind of, but that was a post-credits tease, though. I mean, where they actually meet.
Oh,
instead we got that in the movie. You know, I think there's something there.
Well, I hate to be like the Star Wars guy, but like Grogu meets Luke Skywalker at the end of Mandalorian.
Sure.
So it's like
that wasn't Luke Skywalker. I don't know what that thing was.
That
guy,
Luke Skywalker.
I feel like the lady on the plane. That fucker ain't real.
Yeah, that's not a real person. I want to shake your hand. I want to shake your hand. Different people.
I actually was more weirded out by the voice of deep fake.
I was weirded out by the whole thing.
Faux robot. Well, not when he's in the cloak and the X-Wing lands and all that stuff.
Oh, no, that's awesome. Yeah.
But that, I don't know. You didn't want it to be like the end of Shazam when Henry Cavill shows up but you don't see his head, like, and make it a gag. I think you had to see something, but just recast him, right?
Yeah, recast. Yes.
He's already at Disney. His name's Sebastian Shaw. He would have been great.
His name's Sebastian.
Yeah, he might be aging out of it now.
Yeah, who's Sebastian Shaw?
If they're going to do Han, Luke, and Leia and
who's Sebastian Shaw? Is that a porn star? God, I hope
oh yeah, did you say Sebastian Shaw and not Sebastian Stan?
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. I totally flew right by it. Sebastian Shaw, that's your mom. All right, so Scorpion MKO3 gave us €5. Did you ever play Ultimate Alliance? That's a big diversion. Yes, I did. What do you think about an animated movie series that introduces characters episode by episode like the game? Sounds like fun. That'd be great.
I never played it, but I do know who Sebastian
Shaw
is. It's Kevin Bacon's character in X-Men.
Well, no, come on. No, Sebastian Shaw is the Black King, the head of the Hellfire Club. He's not Kevin Bacon's character. I mean,
to me, he's Kevin Bacon.
Well, then you need to read more comics. Marvel Unlimited's like $10 a month. You have no excuse.
Okay.
You're in your mom's basement, for God's sake. Read
Here's
comics.
The serious question.
More pizza rolls.
Is Sebastian Shaw...
We want him now!
Is he a variant of Kevin Bacon, who we know exists in the MCU?
Oh.
No. I've thought about this. It's the Chris Evans as the Human Torch and the Chris Evans as Captain America. However, if Shaw would have survived or whatever, or if the Guardians of the Galaxy would have traveled and seen Sebastian Shaw, they would have the question is, would they have recognized him as Kevin Bacon? Because if they don't recognize him as Kevin Bacon, then that means that Deadpool could only see the two Chris Evans looking like another character because of his fourth wall breaking ability.
Yes.
I think this is the true secret to if Tony Stark is Dr. Doom or vice versa, which I don't think he is. We just did a video about that. I think we're all wrong.
I love that maybe only Deadpool is the one that even notices they look alike.
It should be that way. Deadpool, when he's unmasked, I would love it if it's just Deadpool going, no one?
Oh my God.
I can't think of a bigger way to undermine drama and tension.
Yeah. Just Deadpool being like, how much did that cost to get him back?
Or just go.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Or just go, is this because the judge didn't work out?
Dissing the late Robert Duvall.
Oh,
man.
Bobby D.
But the judge, honest to God, is a movie that if the judge would have come out 15 years before, it would have done great, like in the 90s, you know? And nobody ever shits on Doolittle. Remember? Robert Downey Jr. did. He's done
not,
two, like,
you don't punch down, Ryan.
Yeah. I'm still hoping they do a third Sherlock movie. And there was no Sherlock reference. You ever notice that? You would think that there would have been something when the two of them met where they were like, nope. And not when Smaug met Bilbo either. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Michael Rodini, welcome back, my friend. Give us $5. Hi, guys. Thanks for all the good times. Thank you for the good times. And obviously, we're not allowed to discuss anything outside of court, but the good times were had and consequences are felt. Kraid is my spirit animal. Gave us $2. Said Ms. Marvel should have been a special presentation. I don't know. I like the show. I like it a lot.
I don't
Except
like
for
special presentations.
I don't like Spotlight. I think the special presentations have been fun. Guardians of the Galaxy and
okay, but that one was like a holiday special. That's a little
Werewolf by Night. You didn't dig Werewolf by Night?
No, I did, but that was like a Halloween holiday.
I see.
I'll give it a pass there. I don't like. I
so
don't
Ms.
like
Marvel's for Ramadan. It's the Ramadan.
Oh, okay. I'm not touching that one.
It's a holiday.
I don't like Marvel doing TV movies, and that's what I feel like they feel like when they do these special, like the Punisher one. I'm really looking forward to that. I wish they were doing a 90-minute R-rated Punisher movie. And then
maybe the Punisher is a 4th of July special presentation.
Oh,
that would be cool. It's Nuke.
Maybe it's Father's Day. What are you doing today, Frank? Nothing.
Because my kids are dead. All right. And we just got a couple more before we move on and we start to talk about other ways this crossover stuff could work out or how it could continue to fail. Bubba Slump, that's a great name, gave us $10, said, I'm still holding out hope that Sadie Sink is not playing Jean Grey, but instead playing Firestar, if I'm right. And they set up Amazing Friends. Who should they cast to play Iceman? The kid who plays Robbie on... the kid who plays Robbie on Cobra Kai. He should play Iceman.
Yes, that's a great cast.
I like that kid. And the kid, Peyton, what's her name, who plays Tori, should be one of the X-Men.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Latest rumor is that her character has mind control powers. Does Shathra have mind control powers, Colton?
Yep.
Okay, could be Shathra. Shathra would make more sense than randomly inserting Jean Grey into a Spider-Man movie, but... why are you keeping it a secret if it's Shathra? It's like holding a Grogu trailer for 2 weeks for no reason. It's like that level of corporate stupid, in my opinion.
No one would ever do that.
Team Shathra.
Team Hashtag Team Shathra.
Oh, yeah, the T-shirt's on its way. Here we got Sir.
Wait,
Sir
do we have merch at
64?
ScreenCrush? Is there a way we can plug that right now?
Oh, my gosh. Do we ever have merch here at ScreenCrush? Thanks for asking. We've got this. Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself. Sure. We've got the Gambit. Remember it. Sad days, sad days. And the Kirby and Lee's. If you look really close, you'll see that this is a Nighthawks with X-Men characters on it. We got the Fraser B shirt, which was designed and drawn by Colton Ogburn himself. And of course, we've got some Doctor Doom classics by the same artist, Mark Spears. We have Tony gifting life to Ultron. And we also have, which one is that? That is somehow Palpatine will return at Avengers Doomsday and this Doomsday Festival shirt, plus many more. Check out all that merch at screencrushmerch.com. Links are down below, although most of the merch we have down below today is Daredevil merch. We've got the Law and Order, Matt Murdock logo, Matt and Nelson and Murdoch, and lots of others. Check out those links on our shelf. Okay, so should they introduce a character first in a movie without background history? Ask Serb, who gave us $5, and then give them an origin story show or a standalone movie. I think it just depends on the story, man. What do you guys think?
Depends on the character. They introduce characters in movies all the time without needing to know their origin. Yeah.
I thought, like years ago, I thought, okay, Doctor Strange, he'll be like, I thought he was going to be in a Marvel one-shot. I never thought Doctor Strange could support his own movie, and I was wrong.
Yeah, you were.
Tommy, I cut you off.
No, I just think that point is just interesting to me. You're right. Like I think it's the nature of it being comic books. It's like we need to know their origin story for all these characters. It's like every other movie exists where they just introduce 15 new people throughout the movie, and there's no like, how did this person get to be so angry? Why?
But that's where Captain America: Civil War is such a great story, because they introduced 2 new characters in that. We don't need to know Spider-Man's origin. We just need to know how he joins them. And that's a great scene with Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland. But then we watch Black Panther's origin. We watch his dad die.
Right, right.
And we don't need to know how he gets his powers or anything like that. We get it. He's a prince. He wears a cat suit, and he's got some super space stuff. That's all you need to know at that point.
Yep.
It just depends on the story, man. Like I think Ms. Marvel could have, if I had my druthers and we were going to go back in time, I kind of feel like the movie with the sequel to Captain Marvel could have been a two-hander with just her and Kamala, because they bounce off each other so well. But as soon as you add in Monica, it just becomes like a whole other movie where you're dealing with all the trauma from the past and things like that. And then none of it has any relevance to her destroying Kree civilization.
I feel the same about Shatra. I feel that when she's introduced in Brand New Day, we won't need like the origin film or anything.
You and Chopper are like me and working
origins.
your mom jokes into videos. In fact, I'll give you a pitch right now. What if what if Ms. Marvel would have had her show and she would have, I don't know, for whatever reason, she meets Carol Danvers. We get a quick origin story. And then Carol's literally like on her way to destroy the Supreme Intelligence and do this horrible thing. But then Kamala Khan, who sees her with these road-collared hero glasses, is like, you can't do that. And so like there's the push-pull of why she's in the movie, because she hasn't been in space for 50 years fighting monsters. So she still has a conscience. That makes sense. Anyways.
Like it.
Thanks. I should have written the movie. Okay. Next point I want to bring up is Secret Invasion. Now, Secret Invasion is a movie that I think is like, Colton, what the hell are you guys?
He started it.
I don't want to hear. If you guys can't be quiet, I'm going to come back there and make you be quiet.
Tommy kissed me first.
Sorry, Ryan.
That's okay.
I'm severely jet lagged right now. I'm fighting for every inch I have on this show. I meant it in a football sense, but not in.
I'll let you kids make your own jokes. Okay. Before we talk about the Mayor Fisk storyline and how to end it after season 2, right? So Secret Invasion is a great example of when this just shit does not work at all. Because Secret Invasion, I don't know what the hell the overall plan was. It seemed like they were trying to get it out before the Marvels. We hear, oh, there's a Skrull homeworld. And you think, well, the Skrull homeworld must be terrible if they're trying to take over Earth. Lo and behold, it's quite nice. And the king seems very friendly and everything works out great. Like there's just a lot of things that were introduced in that show that never carried into the movies and probably never will be again.
Well, and they just redid the twist from Captain Marvel. Like they already did that twist that the Skrulls are not bad. And then in Secret Invasion, they're like, oh, twist again. They are bad. Oh,
I don't even think it was a twist. I think
not bad.
I don't think you were supposed to watch Secret Invasion and think the Skrulls were evil. I just waited for it to mean anything, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It seems like that whole show just existed. They didn't even need Secret Invasion because the last time we saw Nick Fury, he was in space at the end of Far From Home. So we could have completely gone on without that. So that's an example of like a crossover that they held off for no reason when releasing.
I agree. And I also feel like this is maybe slightly 2 steps off topic, but like Secret Invasion to me sounds like they had like 3 main ideas. We're going to kill Maria Hill. Nick Fury is married to a Skrull, and Rhodey has been impersonated by a Skrull. And then they just poured slop over the rest of it. Like they were just like, and we'll fill in the cracks with this epoxy that tastes like puke.
Wouldn't it have been cool if Fury was married to a Skrull but didn't know it? I mean, there's all sorts of things with that show where you can look back and say, well, that would have been interesting. Or if the repercussions of it would have been felt in movies. Because the whole thing is Fury's like, they're like, oh, Fury, you've lost a step. And then you get to the movies and he has not lost a step. He's this dour guy, and then he's all super cheerful. And again, The Marvels was a movie that was pretty super cheerful. I mean, I can't hate that movie because of the cat scene in it. But it definitely didn't tie into the MCU very well, especially the TV shows.
The most offensive thing that show might have done? They made it to where canonically the Rhodey from Endgame is the Skrull.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
And Infinity War. I haven't always been like this. Michael Rodini gave us $2 and has one request: more tongue. Guys,
Makes sense.
$2. Come on. He didn't take it out for air. Come on. There you go. Good job. Okay. Now I want to bring up an idea here, guys. I think this is how this can work. For people watching this, you may have read the comic book No Man's Land. It's one of the comics that was adapted into Dark Knight Rises. In No Man's Land, the premise was that an earthquake destroys Gotham City. The government says, we don't want to deal with this. They seal it off, right? It's not like a nuclear bomb. It's not being held hostage. They just say, leave the island. It's such a cesspool. We're going to seal it off. And it's about the people who are there. That's the big event. And then there were individual stories that took place within that big event. Usually it was Batman dealing with something, but there were other side characters. Another great example is Secret Wars, where this big altering thing happened. And then all the comics took place on Battleworld, which was a really cool, fun thing for creators. I think if they're going to do crossovers where the movies and TV shows interact, it just has to come from the planning stage. You know, Marvel used to be great at this. They used to really plan out their whole arc, but they did it so far in advance that they were hiring writers and artists and people who were really into the material. And so it all, you didn't have to worry about something like the Marvels, which felt a little bit slapdash. Instead, you had things like Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, where people have like a personal touch to it. So if, for example, let's say if they did an event where, I don't know, Civil War, right? If they were doing Captain America Civil War and they know, okay, at the end of this movie, there's going to be this thing called the Sokovia Accords. And then we're going to have 2 years that take place in this time period. That would have been a great time to tell the Daredevil showrunners, hey, vigilantes are illegal. So you can always have that in the background, do whatever you want with that, but that has to be referenced and it's a part of this universe. But that one idea as a creative can actually be a help. Sometimes you need limitations as a creative to steer you in interesting directions. So that's how I think they could fix it.
Well, it just feels like they stopped having a story group, is what it feels like. And that they were so, like, there's an argument to be had, oh, don't turn down a good idea because it doesn't go with the plan that we came up with 5 years ago. But there does need to be a level of that because you're going to mess everything else up if you don't. So it's like a give and take.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan, I think you explained it really well. There should be like any piece of content coming in a certain time frame should have some like core tenets to it. Like, all right, so you have the ability to play within these parameters, and now what you do in there is limitless as long as you know, acknowledge that these things are happening in the world. You don't even necessarily have to like, you know, shoehorn in a direct. You don't have to dedicate an entire episode to it. But it needs to be referenced and it needs to be acknowledged that like the Sokovia Accords is perfect. Like right now, it is illegal, or you know, or you are not allowed to be a vigilante. And if you're a hero, you have to register and all these things, and show how that affects the characters and what they're doing in Daredevil or in whatever.
And logistically, that has to come from the movies and the story group. It has to be something that started, and it really is just a question of how many eyes it gets on it. If more people are going to see the movies, then everything needs to be based on that. It's the same reason in Star Wars, there's like tiers to canon, and movies are the highest tier. It's like movies, TV shows, etc.
They
down
also
to like
need
audio novels.
What is the person on set that is like the continuity person who like
Script
supervisor? They need
usually,
a team like that who is part of the story group, who can be on every set right there alongside the director and the writer to, you know, have that bank of knowledge of, well, actually, you know, in the
well, they like when you're making a million projects, it's hard to do that. Yeah, that's what we should do for a living. I think that scaling back is good for them like that. You know, when you're talking about this, though, I'm just thinking back on all the lost opportunities in this phase. I mean, there is a sovereign nation of immortal space gods on Earth right now, and it got treated as a gag, and it was never referenced again. Like, that bothers me more than Tiamat. I don't really care. The big problem with Tiamat is that in that wide shot, Chloe Zhao went very stylistic, and she showed it being so massive, like so huge, like hands like that big. Whereas something like Asgard tells a story. I don't really know. Giant statue in ocean doesn't really make me think, oh, there's a lot of stories there. But man, if you're doing a Captain America movie and Asgard's a whole nation, and then you got a paranoid president like Ross coming in, like there's a whole lot of really cool storylines that just haven't been picked up. They kind of just get brought up and dropped and then moved on to the next thing, which is unfortunate. And again, fewer projects, I think, is the key to solving that.
They just all feel so isolated to me. Every Marvel movie I feel like I've seen recently, and the shows, just feel so secluded and contained. Yeah.
And don't you think that, like, and by the way, I would never, ever, ever want to give Ryan Coogler a mandate for one of his movies. Like, whatever Coogler wants to do it.
But I also feel like, sorry, Ryan. I cut you off.
Go ahead. Nah,
I feel like he's the type of creator, though, that likes the source material so much that he would want to weave these. Like, it's an exciting challenge to weave in other people's tales into your story and reference them and play off of them, not be controlled by them, but be
when it fits,
to be inspired by them organically. Like when these crossover, or when projects in Marvel reference each other and they work, it sets off a light bulb in a viewer's head, for me anyway. Like, I'm like, oh, right, okay,
and in another creator's head. Right. When they did, C. Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson, whenever they wrote Doctor Strange, and they came up with the Ancient One using the Time Stone to see the future. That's why they did that in Infinity War. Like, they picked up on that little thread. Like, it's kind of like with the show Andor. Tony Gilroy and his writers said, we're going to leave more toys in the box than we take out. Like, you think about how beautifully that show ended, and we could see stories about Clea, we could see stories about Vel. There's all these really cool things that in a TV show or a comic or a movie, we could get their story. And that's exciting. And like you guys said, those have been there. If you go past these past few shows and things, there's been some great stuff introduced that, because of all the stuff they're juggling and barreling toward Doomsday, they're just haven't picked up. But again, going back to the whole point of this in crossovers, I think you guys are right. I think the solution is it has to be you stay in your lane, you stay in your pocket, but when it works, when it's natural, they can cross over. Sam Wilson shouldn't appear in a Daredevil show. Spider-Man probably should, but there's a rights issue. I get that.
I agree.
One other thing I want to bring up before we sign off here, guys. Dario also, I call him Dario, we're buds, also confirmed the Mayor Fisk storyline is going to end after season 2. And we're not going to get Mayor Fisk in season 3. He said season 3, they want to move on to more of the Frank Miller-esque stuff, kind of the darker street stuff. Great. I don't mind knowing that at the start of the season. I don't think Fisk is going to go away. I don't know what the hell you could tell in this storyline past what they've already set up. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean,
what do you want to see for season 3?
It makes sense. They've already told this story. I don't know how many times. They did it in season 1. They had him in season 2. They did the whole story again in season 3. Now they've done Born Again. Yeah, it's time.
There are other villains besides.
I think that's
I want Fisk to exist in that world and be like a recurring cast member, but he can't be the main villain all the time. Like, God, I think it'd be kind of cool if we see a scenario where they actually had to work together, where Fisk and Matt had.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, I really liked the original Daredevil, the episodes where he was in jail, like where it was like he was off the board. Like it was like they're showing him existing in a prison ecosystem. And I think, like, to Colton's point, like, that is when you take him away from being like the big bad that's always front and center in Matt Murdock's mind, it makes him almost more unpredictable and menacing, because you're like, oh, he's laying low right now. When is the dam going to burst? And are we going to get Fisk? When are we going to get Kingpin? Like, he's Wilson Fisk right now, and he's like, maybe opening up art galleries and, like, sponsoring piano lessons for wayward teens. But when is he going to start killing again? When is he going to?
And proud we are of all of them. I think season 3 they should both be in prison. I'd like to see that. That's a Matt Murdock storyline we haven't seen before, at least in live action, where he's in jail. Kind of getting to see them exist in a prison ecosystem while Karen and, I don't know, Foggy, if he comes back this season, are on the outside trying to get him out. That makes sense. Or Matt could face off against his arch enemy, Stiltman. I think it's weird that we've never seen Stiltman except his gear and a cameo. But also, like, other villains. I mean, Kilgrave can't be done better than he was in Jessica Jones season 1, but, like, that's a big Daredevil villain, and we have not actually seen Bullseye as Matt's big adversary in these films. We kind of get this attitude like Fisk is the villain who fights you with his mind, and Bullseye is the one who fights you with his fists. But Bullseye has been Daredevil's enemy much longer than Wilson Fisk. Like, he appeared in Daredevil comics for 100 issues before Wilson Fisk entered it. And they, are opposites of each other in different ways. Matt and Kingpin are very much opposites of each other in terms of the lawyer, the guy who obeys the law, and the gangster who usurps the law. Whereas Bullseye is the flip side to Matt's vigilante side. Like, if Matt had no moral compunctions whatsoever, he would be like Bullseye. So those would be good. Do you guys have any villains before we sign off? Do you like to see, or anybody in the super chat? Got a Daredevil villain we should see more of?
Daredevil villain.
Well, the original show burned the owl. They made Gladiator his weapons and armor designer.
We could do the owl again. I mean, also we could get another Elektra season. I think that season 2 was really just the origin story for Elektra. It'd be good to see an actual good hand face off, but the hand are boring. I mean, that was the problem with the Defenders. When you really break the hand down, they're just a bunch of ninjas. Like all the other stuff is just window dressing.
I want him to fight the Foot.
Yeah,
I think
the Foot Clan.
The Foot Clan, I think. Yeah, absolutely.
I think a step further.
Well,
I want to fight the putties from Power Rangers.
Well, because the toxic stuff that blinded him is also what created the Ninja Turtles. So it works.
Colton's not kidding, by the way. That was their intention. It is. Yeah, no, the Ninja Turtles are a parody of Frank Miller, and that's why the Stick was his mentor. So Splinter is there. It's like a whole thing that they did. I think we've talked about that in a video before. Great. Okay, we're going to sign off there. Tommy, Colton, thanks so much. So the long story is, if you guys have just joined us, we're not going to see as many Marvel characters appear in TV shows from the movies, but we are going to continue to get crossovers of TV shows with each other, which is a lot of fun. I hope that keeps up. Tommy Bechtold, good to see you, man.
Good to see you guys. Max told me I got to get back to work, so unfortunately.
All right. Tell Max I say kiss my ass. Colton, I'm going to leave you to your Daredevil action figure there. Thanks so much for joining us. And thank all of you guys for not letting Colton know that he's trapped in a TV and doesn't know it. I really appreciate that. So we want to hear from you guys. What do you think about all of this? What characters do you think should cross over? What crossovers were completely not necessary? Maybe meeting Mr. Khan in a bank wasn't the most organic way to bring Ms. Marvel and Daredevil together, but let me know if you thought that it worked down in the comments. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.